Jack lived in an old and crumbling house with his wife and daughter Olivia. Jack's daughter Olivia, a black teenager, had contracted a disease at an early age. Jack had taken her to many doctors, but every doctor had come back empty-handed. Because little Olivia's illness was not easily cured and was very expensive, it was very difficult for Jack, who was very poor, to scrape together that kind of money. He had to work for his daughter, and most businesses wouldn't hire him because he was black. Finally, he got a job as a waiter in a cafe. He had been working there for about a month. As Jack opened the door of the cafe in the early hours of the morning, a chill began to spread through the air. It was the beginning of another boring, routine day at the cafe. Before the customers arrived, Jack started cleaning the tables. He sat down tiredly at one of the tables. The fatigue evident in his eyes and the exhaustion in his body reflected his hard days. Olivia, his daughter, was sick again. She was getting worse every day. The doctors were not giving her much hope for a cure. Expenses piled up. Jack tried to earn a little more money by working long hours at the cafe, but it wasn't enough. The money needed for his daughter's treatment was much more. Business at the cafe was as busy as ever. People were hurriedly drinking their coffee and ordering their food, but no one seemed to notice his condition. Every day Jack became more and more desperate, trying to save enough money to pay for his daughter's treatment, while at the same time doing everything he could to cure Olivia. Waitressing at the cafe had become his livelihood, but Olivia needed so much more. When Jack came home in the evenings, he was afraid he would never be able to look his little girl in the eye again. That morning, as most of the people entering the cafe were going about their usual morning routine, someone walked in with slow steps. The person who entered was unexpected. As Queen Elizabeth stepped gracefully into the cafe, everyone around her fell silent. The wind from outside blew into the cafe, and the atmosphere suddenly changed. Ignoring the attention around her, the Queen calmly made her way to one of the empty tables in the cafe. As soon as she entered, everyone in the cafe turned their heads to look at her. A few people almost dropped their coffee cups in surprise. The fact that Queen Elizabeth was in such an ordinary cafe, alone, like an ordinary customer, stunned everyone. In the midst of this confusion, Jack made his way to the Queen's table to take the order. The whole cafe fell silent. His pace quickened, his heart pounding in his chest. At first glance, the Queen sitting at her table seemed to pay no special attention to anyone. However, just as Jack approached her, the Queen noticed Jack and lifted her head slightly and turned her gaze on him. Queen Elizabeth smiled, ignoring Jack's somewhat hesitant demeanor. Her humble attitude helped Jack overcome some of his nervousness. "May I have a coffee?" she asked, her voice softer and more delicate than usual. Jack, for a moment, didn't know what to say. After a few seconds of hesitation, he said, "Of course, ma'am," and took her order. No one in the cafe had recovered from their surprise, and they were all watching. When the coffee was ready, Jack placed the cup on the table, and Queen Elizabeth raised her head slightly, thanking him while looking into his eyes. But then her expression changed. It seemed like she noticed something in Jack, a sense of helplessness. For a moment, she froze. She had sensed something. After sipping her coffee in silence for a while, Queen Elizabeth gestured for Jack to come closer. "There's sadness in your eyes," she said, inviting him to sit on the chair across from her. Jack looked at her in surprise. After all, no one had ever spoken to him like this. In a gentle and compassionate tone, Queen Elizabeth asked, "Is there something you want to talk about?" Though Jack was taken aback by her directness, the weight of his exhaustion and worries somehow pushed him to share. "My daughter, Olivia. She's very sick," Jack said, his voice trembling. "Her treatment is very expensive, but it's impossible to earn enough just by working. Everything keeps getting worse." Queen Elizabeth looked at him carefully, nodding slowly. There was understanding and empathy in her eyes. Queen Elizabeth took a deep breath and calmly said, "I understand hardship." She paused for a moment, then, without taking her eyes off Jack, she continued, "I can help you." Jack had often heard about Queen Elizabeth's generous and kind nature. "How can you help?" Jack asked, a bit surprised, but with hope reigniting in his heart. Queen Elizabeth leaned back and said, "If you want, you can come to the palace and find a job here." Her words were life-changing for Jack. A job at the palace wasn't just about earning money, it was also a huge opportunity for Olivia's treatment. Queen Elizabeth continued, "This isn't just a job, it's a chance to help with Olivia's medical expenses." Jack's eyes lit up with astonishment. This offer was beyond his wildest dreams. Who would have thought that while working as a waiter in a cafe, he would receive such an offer? But Queen Elizabeth wasn't just offering him a job, she was offering hope for his daughter's health. Jack took a deep breath and said, "Yes, yes, I accept." The next day, Jack started working at the palace. Thanks to Queen Elizabeth's help, he found a way to cover his daughter's medical expenses and gained a chance for a fresh start in life. Olivia began treatment and quickly recovered. Queen Elizabeth, in a way befitting royalty, had changed a family's future and saved a little girl's life. Let us know your thoughts on Queen Elizabeth's actions in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and like the video for more stories like this.